Hey Matt, what wacky name do you want?
Are poo and ass taken?
Yep.
Could my life get any worse?
Well, Bart, even for a podcaster, you're white.
Traumatic childhood.
We needed those. We really did.
Which is true. Means death for us all.
Up yours, children.
Welcome to No Kids, Three Money, a Simpsons podcast through the lens of time. It's your new favourite podcast about your old favourite show. I am one half of your host, Ned.
And I'm Matt.
And our producer over there.
Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Hello?
Hello, Keegan.
Mr.
Hello,
Keegs.
Keegan.
Hello,
I am Mr. Keegs.
You are hearing us, Keegs.
Yeah, I'm Keegy the Clown.
Keegi's come down with a bad case of laryngitis. So, as usual, he won't be saying anything or doing anything. How's your stock footage, Keegan? Good?
Shut up and eat your audio.
This is No Kids 3 Money imitation grill. 9 out of 10 listeners can't tell the difference.
Gentlemen, the hard drives.
There's very little audio in this podcast.
Watch Lady Keegan.
More creamed Keegs. Jimbo Nettie.
His creamed audio tastes like cream crap.
Watch your audio mouth, honey.
Oh, fuck.
This podcast for regular podcasting, not some sort of fancy podcasting.
We should just end it here. It's not going to get any better than this.
And star wipe.
I'm already crying. Alrighty, so what do we have in store for the people this week, Matt?
We have 2 good episodes, starting with season 2, episode 16, and following suit, season 11, episode 6, and unfortunately, season 21, episode 8.
Yep, that sounds right.
Thank you.
Oh, God, the season 21 episode was painful this week, as we discussed.
I've seen episodes suck before. But it was just the suckiest bunch of sucks that ever sucked. I gotta go, my damn wiener hosts are listening.
There's only one family on this block, no on Earth, inconsiderate enough to let a monster like that roam free.
Oh. Are you losing your hearing or are you just stupid? I am going to explain this to you one more time and then I'm going to hang up on you. It is not my dog. I tied my dog outside myself. I am looking at him right now.
Alright, ready to go?
Yeah, season 2, episode 16.
Titled, Bart's Dog Gets an F. Synopsis reads, Homer becomes fed up with Santa's little helper who continually destroys things. He says he will get rid of him unless he goes to an obedience school. Bart, Lisa and Maggie have grown to love the dog and promise to train him. Santa's little helper does poorly there, as Bart is unwilling to use a choke chain. The night before the final exam, Bart and Santa's little helper play on Lisa's suggestion, thinking it would be their last few hours together. This bonding breaks down the communication barrier, meaning Santa's little helper can now understand Bart's commands, thus passing obedience school much to the family's, except Homer's, happiness. Meanwhile, Lisa has the mumps.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I totally forgot about that whole subplot.
Which is like a really, really good subplot.
Yeah.
Like, puts generational things into perspective that we might not have seen before.
And one of the first episodes that I think of that really has a prominent one.
Yeah. And
in these earlier seasons.
I also think it is the first episode based on a side character, essentially, being Santa's little helper.
Okay, yeah. Because he is a member of the family per se, but he's not really like... Yeah, there's only, maybe... Oh, hang on, the first episode's about him. Not about him technically, because like the whole episode's sort of about Homer losing his job, but then they get Santa's little helper at the end.
Yeah. That features around him, whereas this is like basically Santa's little helper's point of view for a lot of parts of it.
Yeah, you're right. Which I think they do like quite a good job. I'm not sure how accurate it is, kind of thing, because I don't know how accurate you can be with that kind of thing. But
Like getting a dog's perspective.
yes, it seems like
can't really tell you.
It seems like a good interpretation of it.
Yeah, agreed. And I think the reference towards Terminator as well was quite fitting.
Is there?
Sorry, Predator, not Terminator.
In what way?
There's a scene where like Santa's little helper's looking around, and the visual shift is the same noise that the Predator makes when he's looking through the jungle.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Right. I didn't catch that.
cool cultural reference.
Well, my first note is it's obviously a takeoff of Bart gets an F from season 1. So it's a nice like little through line of like Santa's little helper is the family's dog, but he's also mainly Bart's dog.
Yeah,
Is he shown to be like his favorite or whatever?
I think Bart Gets an F was the first ep of season 2.
Was it?
From memory? Yeah.
No. Oh, no, you are right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking of, what am I thinking of? The one where he cheats and goes to the special school. It's a very
The snow.
very
day.
early on season 1.
Yeah.
He like steals Martin's test and
Yes,
changes his
yes.
name. Yeah.
Yep. I know what you're talking about.
I get it. I get Simpsons.
Yeah, as we discussed before we started watching these eps, we're going to try and maybe condense a little bit of just retelling the episode and
Yeah.
more just pick a couple of quotes we really like and then go down to how that maybe refers to our real lives in
Yes.
some way to make better jokes.
Yes.
With the help from The Simpsons, of course. But there was a good Dr. Hibbert quote pretty early on. So this is when Lisa gets the mumps, essentially, and Marge sort of rolls her over and sees all the signs of it, like the cheeks swelling up and shit. And she said she's going to ring Dr. Hibbert. And it sort of cuts straight to Dr. Hibbert answering a phone call at home. And he says, "Not that I'm angry, but how did you get my home number?" So Marge has gone through however many people to get Dr. Hibbert's actual home number.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He does say that.
Yeah. And then, like, a cultural thing for this was Dr. Hibbert's home and family resemble those of The Cosby Show, a program that at the time competed with The Simpsons for the Thursday 8 p.m. time slot.
Ooh.
You got anything to say about that one, Nettie? Anything yet? Not quite?
You think it's time?
Oh, only if you can go further into...
If I can make this worse?
Yeah. Hello, Mr. Cosby.
I fully didn't even notice the Cosby sweater and stuff like that. It's interesting that they would, you know, take a Michael Jackson episode off who, like, was...
Never really proven.
Well, never really proven. Fucking what?
He's grooming me.
But then, yeah, then you get somebody like Bill Cosby. He's out of jail.
Why?
I don't know.
How long was he there for?
And he's still alive. Someone hasn't killed him in the street yet.
Still hippin' and a poppin'. There we are, folks. Our first beep.
Beep. Is it time for it yet, though?
It'll come up naturally.
It'll come up naturally.
And a bopping and a ripping and a
Pokemon.
Bart then tries to like accuse Lisa of not having the mumps, and I can't remember exactly what she says, but she says something slightly intellectual, and he just looks at her.
Yeah.
Marge is like, Lisa, don't confuse your brother like that.
This was like a back and forth between if Bart gets to go to school, I get to go to school. And then Bart tries to like
Figure it out.
do another deal of like, well, if Lisa's staying home, then I get to go to school, and like confuses the fuck out of himself. Yeah.
So I think that's when we sort of get like, wait, is the dog already chained up in the backyard at this point?
Yeah. Doing loops.
Because he's done something. I can't remember what it was. And then he escapes and goes and... Oh, because Bart goes to school. He tries to follow him to the bus.
Yeah.
And he goes and fucking on
Jumps
a
in the old
rampage.
lady's pool.
He eats a beetle. Then he runs into the Quickie Mart and steals beef jerky.
That's right. Yeah.
Then he jumps in the old lady's pool. And we get that fucking great scene of like Homer just reiterating like fucking 10 times. Like, that's not my fucking dog.
I know because I chained him up myself.
But when he answers the phone, he calls her a battle axe. Did Homer call that old lady a cunt?
Is that what battle act is?
I thought that's what that meant.
Hold on, let me take a look. See.
Interesting. The voice of that old lady was done by Tracy Ullman also.
Ah.
And she also played the Mrs. Winthrop character that we see in the dog obedience school later in the episode.
Oh, okay.
So this,
Yeah, that's interesting because I don't think I've ever, well, not that I know that I've heard her voice before, kind of thing.
Yeah. And it's funny because obviously The Simpsons started as a sketch show on there. And by the time this episode came out, the Ullman show was basically not a thing anymore, which was maybe 2 to 3 years after.
Wow.
Yeah, finishing up on that show.
She's still alive?
I don't know.
Uh-uh.
I don't care.
Battle axe is basically a cunt.
Yes.
Nice.
So that's a fucking good joke for them to just throw in there, like boom, and then just move on kind of thing. Because that's obviously not like the focal point of the joke.
Yeah.
But that was there for parents. So they've started sliding those little things in where it's like, okay, we know that it's around the time slot where like the news is finished or whatever. So you're going to be sitting down with your kids. You might be around a dinner time kind of thing.
Yeah.
So they were trying to bring in both of those audiences. But yeah, he does that great bit where he's just like, I know I chained him up myself, walks out to the window and sees that it's fucking not there, has to go and get the dog. Is that when he starts getting pissed off and talks about giving it away? Oh no, that's after he eats the cookie and shit like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, further on.
Yes.
Tracy Ullman is still alive.
Okay.
That's good.
Yeah.
The old lady is also cursed.
So yeah, Marge has the quilt, like the family quilt, and she goes and shows it to Lisa. Which, did you look up any of the cultural references from that?
Yeah, just 2 of them. So she basically goes through the generation of Simpsons.
6 generations.
The one that stood out to me was there was like a golden like buffalo and someone chasing it, and that was after Buffalo Bill. He was like a prized buffalo hunter of some sort.
Okay.
And then there was one of like a soldier with a gun.
I think it was like World War One.
This was based on a photo from the Spanish Civil War.
Okay.
Called The Falling Soldier.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And then the third one was the Great Depression, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And
yeah, it was like a stock market sort of thing with 1927 going all the way down.
Yeah. Quite a good thing to add.
And then what did Marge add to it?
It's
something about...
It was something just not like...
It was weird.
Etched in time.
It was like a... fuck, I can't remember what it was.
Not important.
Yeah. But it was like alluding to the fact that she used to be like way more of a free spirit.
Yeah, okay.
Something to that effect. I can't remember what it was.
Yeah.
But then she starts poking the needle into her finger. That's a sewing finger, honey. At least it's like, ew.
Burns it with a Zippo lighter.
Yeah. Just way too much.
Yeah.
Nice animation on that, though, considering how long ago that was.
Yeah, that was good.
My next note is Flanders repeating things in a thought bubble appeared much earlier than I thought than the famous one.
Yeah.
The patch that Marge put onto the rug was "Keep on trucking."
That's right, and it's in like a yin yang style kind of thing.
Very 70s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
This would be a niche reference, but any trucker/gamers out there? Honk if you like gaming.
I'm a trucker and also a gamer.
Brandstorm. Neddy's dad's a trucker. Was.
I can't remember exactly what Homer's doing in that instance, though, when he's having that thought. What the fuck is going on?
Oh, this was when he saw the assassins in the window. So.
Oh, that's right, yeah, because he saw Flanders earlier with the assassins on and was, like, fawning over them.
Stupid Sexy Flanders' first appearance.
Yes.
So he's up in, like, a running get-up and shit like that, and then he's got his assassins on that Homer's basically drooling over.
Yeah.
Then Homer sees them in the window, and that's when he's, like, having the back and forth with, can he afford the $125 or not? And then a thought bubble of Ned pops up, basically hammering him to buy them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and once again, we get that, like, weird side of Flanders where he's actually, like, a normal person. He, like, yells at Homer. I can't remember what he says, but he just yells at him, and Homer's like, okay.
Yeah.
And goes and buys the shoes.
And the whole reason he's at the shops in the first place is Marge sent him there to get, like, some teen mags for Lisa.
Oh,
to
that's
read while
right,
she's
yeah.
off. And when he goes up to the cashier to buy them, the guy goes, he's just looking at him accusingly, essentially. And Homer goes, they're for my daughter. And the other guy's like, yeah, sure they are. I can relate to that very much so.
Just
by, like,
condescending as fuck.
yeah, buying Pokemon cards and shit as I do. You get some looks occasionally, but I think it's a more popular thing for adults nowadays than it is for kids.
I feel like most of the hobby is filled with adults.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a massive boom at the moment, too. So it wouldn't be looked at weirdly that
It's
an
too-
adult is buying
Too
cards.
expensive of a hobby for a kid to have.
Fucking oath.
Oh, yeah.
Fucking oath. About identifying fake cards and shit. And
Is his kid of the...
yes. Matt loves rooting. Keegs loves cameras. Everyone's scared when Ned slanders.
Not me.
Everyone beware of Ned's slanders. Yes.
What do you think?
Yeah, not bad. Jesus Christ.
Been holding that one in.
I was like, yes, he's talking about... And we're back.
So after that whole back and forth, my next note is referencing there's like a newscast that comes onto TV and the babysitter killer gets mentioned. So Miss Bots comes up, and then the next channel that Homer flicks to is Troy McClure doing like a advertisement for a shitty product.
And
but
it's blatantly not Phil Hartman.
yeah. So that brings into point like what we have talked about before is them writing an episode but producing it later than some episodes that have already been released.
Yep.
So they obviously didn't have Phil Hartman yet, but they recorded a Troy McClure scene.
Either that or they like made that one much later or something and he just was not available to come in because he probably wouldn't have been able to do remote stuff at that point in time.
Maybe.
Or it would have been extremely new technology.
No, you would have had to film everything on, then record everything on tapes.
100%. So like they would have had to like physically mail it. Maybe they didn't have the time to do it.
Could have been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's more likely what you said.
Could be.
But then, like, have you got written down like the next thing that he like flicks to?
No.
Because he's just flicking through channels and it comes up like some random soap opera, doesn't it? Or is that later when Lisa and Marge
That
are
is my
watching
next
something?
note. Yeah.
So fucking good.
So Marge and Lisa are sitting on the lounge quilting together.
Yes.
And Marge is obviously showing Lisa the shows that she likes to watch on daytime TV, which is essentially like a soap opera porno by the looks of it.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, that's right. Because that chick just like takes her like dress completely off.
Yeah.
And fucking the priest just walks in the door. Father McGrath, I thought you were dead. I was. Then it just cuts.
Yeah. Just a massive cliffhanger. Doesn't explain a thing.
It's just the fact that he's like smiling.
Yeah. Yeah. My next note was something that you pointed out to me because I like missed it because I looked away for like a second. This is when Homer's
Can I
getting-
read my note before I explain it?
Oh, yeah.
Guest appearance by the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels.
Oh, yeah.
It is just the most. Have you seen this episode, Keegan? We'll show you the scene afterwards, but it's like Homer's. Is he return? No, he's going to buy the shoes, isn't he?
No, he's returning them.
Oh, no, this episode's a classic. Of course I've seen it.
Yeah. So like when Homer's returning the shoes, because we skipped a little bit, the dog destroyed the shoes by this point in time. So Homer's trying to return them for a refund, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's got the shoes in tatters in this fucking box and he's walking up and there's two guys in the background and for some reason this vaguely Asian looking guy on the left just goes just sweet chin music kicks this other dude in the jaw for no reason.
There was like little plaques above like each shoe rack and this one specifically said kickboxing.
Oh, okay.
So they were like taking the shoes for a test run.
I understand now. Because I was just so enthralled by the fact that he just kicked him in the face.
Because it was a 1 second visual
Yeah.
gag, but that noise that the guy made was fucking perfect. Great representation of
yeah.
Japanese culture. Beep, beep,
Beep.
beep, 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 beep. Beep, 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 Ned Slanders. There was a really good quote from the retail worker when Homer's trying to return these shoes. He says, sorry, sir, a warranty doesn't cover fire, theft, or acts of dog. Which is like a...
acts of God, yeah.
I thought that was quite smart to add that into like such a dumb looking character.
Yeah, you're right.
Mm.
And is that the first instance of the squeaky voice teen?
Don't think so. No, he's been introduced already.
I can't remember where, but you're probably right.
I remember seeing a note in my notes
Okay.
saying he was introduced.
Did we figure out whether that scene of... Yeah, so you know what it is? What is it?
E.T.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so Lisa and Marge like touch sewing fingers.
Yeah.
He's
So Lisa and
docking
Marge are
me.
docking.
He's docking me.
And yeah, you said straight away, was that an ET thing? Because they sort of like stop and it buzzes for a bit.
Well, they make the noise. They're like that.
And then you said ET, I said Hand of God.
Yeah.
Like the painting, which would have run well with the act of dog just before.
Yeah, which is why I also like, I thought that was going to be the reference, but there you go.
Oh, creation of Adam.
Yeah.
What you're thinking of.
Is that what it's called?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hand of God.
So then we get that scene of like they've taken the quilt upstairs. It's all been finished and everything. Homer's bought that giant cookie, tried to shove it in the top of the cookie jar.
Yep.
The dog steals it, then goes upstairs and also destroys the fucking blanket.
Yep.
So everybody's distraught, and then they have that conversation downstairs, which was actually kind of a weird dynamic for me. It was one of those instances where we see Marge sort of stray from her character a little bit because she actually agrees with Homer and says like, no, like, you know, this dog destroyed something that was fucking precious to me, and he destroys shit all the time. And like, obviously she is the more level-headed one in the situation, but she's making more logical points. Still a fuck thing to do for parents to say, we're going to give away your dog.
Yeah, because Lisa comes up with that counter argument of you can't give away a family member. Or no, Homer says we're going to give away the only family member we can.
Yeah.
Yeah, which also, like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that's pretty fucking crazy. And I thought they were going to make some joke about her grandpa there, but obviously they hadn't gotten to that point yet.
Yeah, about putting him in a home.
Yeah. So the dog's been in obedience school throughout the entirety of the episode and just been failing miserably the entire time.
Yeah, correct.
And they make a plea with their parents that if he passes his final test, that
They can keep him.
They can keep him.
Yeah,
So Bart's desperately trying to train him in the backyard,
yeah,
like yelling at him essentially. And Lisa makes a good point of like, you know, this is probably the last couple of hours you're going to spend with him. Why don't you actually just spend a little bit of time with him?
yeah. That was like a nice heartfelt moment and like maybe a realization for someone of Bart's mental capacity that, oh shit, like this may be the last time I see my dog, as opposed to like, let's just give up on training him. Let's just enjoy this bit of quality time.
Yeah. Which once again, then you mentioned at the start of the episode is what actually allows Bart to be able to break through to the dog.
Yes.
And Santa's little helper starts understanding him. So we get that nice little montage of him doing the tricks in the backyard, and then it fades into obviously him being at the school and passing his final test.
Yeah. Rolling around on the ground. And Mrs. Winthrop delivers one of the best lines I've heard ever, which is,
Dylan! You son of a bitch.
I was like in awe when she said that.
I didn't even realize that's a connection you were making. I just thought it was great because of the way she delivered it. It was fucking like just there was so much vitriol in it, just like you fucking cunt of a thing.
Yeah. She said it as Arnie did. And funnily enough, the other Predator reference was in this episode as well. So
Yeah.
maybe that's why they chose to use that particular line, paying a bit of homage to good old Predator.
I wonder.
Wow, 3 Predator references in the episode. Crazy.
Insert. Hear it.
right in the eyes with the
From
frisbee.
miles away.
Is my second last note because we like skipped that little bit where he's trying to play with the dog and he throws the frisbee and it just dents his eyes. It doesn't even blink.
Nah.
He just goes dink.
I'll give like an honourable mention to one thing we didn't cover from my notes was this Homer's first instance of writing. So this happens a fair bit throughout the series. So he's like basically giving Marge dialogue of what to write on the typewriter. And that happens in the Food Critic episode a couple of weeks ago where he's giving dialogue to Lisa to write for him.
Yeah, it seems to happen a lot. Yeah, specifically only with Marge and Lisa. I can't remember an instance where he's ever done it with Bart, but he understands that Bart is no more intelligent than he is.
Poo-poo, one word or two? Bart's writing
yeah.
down his jokes for that. So obviously Homer's got some sort of intellectual disability where he can't
write,
type.
or spell, or something like
Yes.
that, which I think has actually been shown several times. Like anytime he's written like a sign or something like that, it's usually misspelled or.
It's Kern, stupid. So yeah, maybe this
He's
is,
really good.
this might be the origin of like telling the story of Homer's inadequacy at being able to read or write.
Potentially. You got anything else?
No, that was it.
Save my partner's life. I'll need complete.
Hello, everybody. Did somebody say a perfect game?
You idiot! You'll ruin everything.
I'm doing a walk-on. It's a show business thing. So, how y'all doing? Let's see. What's in the news today?
Will you shut up?
Hey, I thought you never talked.
I didn't mean to. It just slipped out. Oh, God, now Penn's gonna beat me.
Folks, it's all part of the act.
No, it isn't. Don't leave me alone with him.
You've ruined the act. I'm gonna kill you.
He'll do it. I'm not the first teller.
Remember, Springfield, keep on swinging.
Season 11, episode 5. 6.
Yes.
That one.
Hey.
Hey.
Titled Hello Gutter, Hello Fadder. Synopsis reads, Homer becomes a local celebrity after bowling a 300-point game, but his fame quickly fades as yesterday's news. After a botched suicide attempt foiled by Otto, Homer decides to spend time with Maggie after seeing Ron Howard spend time with his children. When Homer tries to teach Maggie swimming, he fails due to her mistrust of him and has to be pulled out of the beach by Maggie. Eventually, Homer brings Maggie to a bowling game where she bowls a perfect game.
Yes.
Hello. I am Mr. Host.
Otto, where are you? It's like the first scene of the episode where he's looking for Waldo.
Oh, right. I get jokes.
Does it open? Yeah, it opens with Marge and Maggie doing something in the kitchen. Yeah,
Eating.
Marge is feeding her.
Yeah.
Yeah, and comes downstairs and like for some reason Maggie's just like weirdly infatuated with Homer in this episode.
Yeah.
Which has never really been shown before, so it kind of like threw me off a little bit from the start.
Never been shown as in the way we're watching it.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yep.
very strange. And actually, there's kind of like a through line to the season 21 episode in that sense, which we'll get to in a little bit.
There is also a through line to the season 2 episode for this episode also.
In what way?
I'm trying to figure it out. I wrote it Oh, yes, right. So basically the like language barrier between Santa's Little Helper and the whole family. And then in this episode, there's a language barrier between Homer and Maggie, which is through the point of view of Maggie.
Yep, I didn't write that down, but I did notice that. Yeah, there's several times throughout this episode where it's shown that, like...
Even the subtitle said speaks gibberish.
Yeah, and he's just, like, speaking in this weird... Like, that's all she, like, can hear from him kind of thing.
Yeah.
And she sees him as a monster and all that kind of stuff. It's weird that they make that, like, transition sort of instantly kind of thing. Yeah, that's the only thing that I didn't particularly like about this episode. Overall, it was like really good and like way funnier than what I remembered it being.
Yeah.
But that just kind of threw me off a little bit.
The transition between...
Like she was really like, you know, like wanted his attention at the start of the episode and then all of a sudden once they transferred the subplot, or not the subplot, the main plot to him trying to spend time with his kids, and specifically Maggie, she wanted nothing to do with him.
Yeah, right. Maybe she was just over it at that point.
Yeah, maybe. But then, like, I don't know. I feel like that's way too much emotional intelligence to attach to a baby, but she's also been shown to have that kind of emotional intelligence before. I don't know. I'm just looking too much into it.
Hello, Mr. Nedward. He can't be turned off. There's a really good quote of when, Marge asks Homer to feed Maggie, essentially, and he says there's no time, but then
Because he's 17 hours late for work or something?
Yeah, 27 hours maybe.
Yeah,
because it's like the following day.
Slept an entire day or some shit.
Yeah. So when he gets to work, he's like thankful that Burns hasn't noticed him, sits down, and then he hears Burns like clear his throat behind him, and then Homer doesn't look behind him straight away, he just sort of like feels behind him. I can't get in trouble if I can't see you. I'm afraid he's got you there, sir.
He pulls his teeth out and just like ching, the other fucking set pops down.
Yep. That was quite good.
So does he then... Wait. No, that's right. That's when we get that scene. He's sitting in the fucking basement and Lenny and Carl walk in. Hey, Homer, what you doing? Burns is making me eat all this toxic waste. Jeez, there's got to be 200, 300 gallons in here.
Even a spoonful can cause a fatal brain tumor.
Yeah. It's just like, yeah. And there's some pause and like, want to come bowling later?
Yeah. Okay. They leave straight away.
Pretty much. Yeah. Instantly.
Yep.
That's when he makes the phone call to home and lies about Lenny.
That's right. Not Lenny. Yes. That's why I wore this shirt. There was a lot of like Lenny-based rhetoric in this episode particularly, and I think in the first episode we just covered as well. Can't remember specifically what, but I remember seeing Lenny in both of those episodes.
In the first episode?
Yeah, he was in there somewhere.
I don't recall. I'm trying to remember. Yeah.
Who cares?
No.
Wonder what makes it turn. Who cares? After lunch, can I whip you? No. This is like another episode showcasing Homer contemplating suicide as well, which we thought was like a pretty big topic to cover, and they did that at least once in season 1 and probably a few times between then and now.
Yeah, my note about that is just Homer suicide through line question mark.
Yeah.
Pretty like dark thing to be covering again, but it's also like if you look at it's interesting kind of thing. It's a heavy concept regardless of how you bring it up, right? But the way that they portray it in the season 11 episode makes it comical as opposed to the way that it's portrayed in the season 1 episode is actually extremely sort of dark and confronting.
Yeah, true. Like in this one, he goes to the top of the Springfield State Building, and there's a line of people wanting
It's just
to
got
jump.
like a sign that says jumpers and like points them all to that direction. Then some dude pushes him off.
Yeah, he's taking too long to kill himself.
And he grabs Otto and they fall down the manhole conveniently. There's no escape from the land of the moles. And they fly back up on the bungee cord. Well, except that.
This must have been, like, that's close to the end of the episode.
Yeah.
Yes. We'll get to that note when we get there. I have a note about that.
Okay.
Okay.
So they're bowling, and I can't remember exactly what the fuck brings up my next. Oh, that's right. Homer's looking at the bowling ball, and he sees Burns' face in it. And he turns to Lenny and Carnage. He's like, have you guys ever seen Burns' face in a bowling ball? And Lenny's like, no, I'd say you're actually having a severe psychotic episode.
The bullies are also like dunking someone's head in the Shino ball.
It's Millhouse.
You're polishing bone.
But we skipped over like one of the greatest scenes, which, you go.
I was going to say, it's just something that's been in like the lore of, I know, my life and Mitch's life in particular, but probably you guys as well. Every time you have to enter a name to play a game and you have 3 letters, poo and ass. The only 2 things that ever come to mind.
Poo and ass taken.
This is where it was born. So thank you. Thank you, Matt Green.
Yeah, whoever wrote that joke specifically, pat yourself on the back. That one.
Oh, yeah.
That one just goes through time.
Imagine how many people's mind that resonates in and just lives rent-free forever.
Yeah.
A poo and ass taken.
And then you have those awkward moments where you say it to someone, they're like, what?
Or you're that third person who has to think of something funny to have as a three-letter word.
That's
What
easy.
What?
Come.
Come. What are some other three-letter words that? Oh yeah, I got a good one, but
Or more
I'll
conveniently,
give it to
Ned.
yeah, that also works. Or just take the route Homer did and use your initials. My initials are J-E.
My initials are N.
Keegan got lost on the way back to his home planet. Oh. Bloop, bloop, bloop.
So it then starts getting televised that he's like nearly gonna bowl a 300 game. His family realizes there's not actually anything wrong with Lenny. And Marge has like sewn those giant patches by that point in time.
Yeah, get well, Lenny, and we love you, Lenny.
She's got a photo of him with a rose and a candle in front of it.
Which could even be like tied into the season 2 episode of quilting, because she is doing some sort of fabric/sewing work.
Right. Yeah, you're right.
So an unintentional through line, I would say.
None of this shit can be unintentional at this point in time.
Yeah,
it's
that's
way too prevalent in like
Yeah.
this 10-year time frame that we're looking at everything in.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem to happen with the season 21 episodes as much. It's
No.
more with like these middle episodes and the earlier seasons.
In the season 21 type thing, the through lines, they sometimes reference it in the titles, which does come up this week.
Ah, yeah, you're
for
right.
last
Yeah,
week's season 2 episode.
you're right. They do.
They do tie it in ways. They just don't know how to make it funny anymore.
Just much lazier with it. They just, they make a reference in a title and then don't actually put any effort into making any jokes that
we
are relating to that. So, Homer wins the 300 game and then tries to coast through what he thinks is going to be the rest of his life on that 15 minutes of fame. Does he go straight on Celebrity Squares after that?
No, first he goes to like meet the parents' day at BART school.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's like not a meet the parents' day. It's like a local heroes day or some shit like
that's right. And
like that.
Yeah, they introduce Homer as this like prolific bowler. He's just bowled a perfect game without the aid of all these like illicit drugs.
Yeah.
I was like wondering what she was referencing. Like, was there a person that was a big name in bowling at this point in time that got done for drug use? But there was nothing that came up. The only thing that was a reference to anything was after she'd said all that, she sat back down and started reading a book called Fear of Flying. So Fear of Flying is a 1973 novel by Erica Jong. It became controversial for its portrayal of female sexuality and figured in the development of second wave feminism. So that's like a pretty huge book to have as like an educational aid at a school.
Right. Wait, was it supposed to be an educational aid or is she just reading it?
I think it was meant to be an educational aid.
I mean, it's interesting that they would pick that book specifically. It's obviously got to have some form of like reference.
I think it's just a joke that like, no, you would never use a book like that as an educational aid because it's a bit too red hot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, obviously the portrayal of female sex organs. I thought they shut that place down. There was a few honorable mentions to past scenes that we've just gone over. Was one of my favorite lines from Kent Brockman after he's like amping up how prolific this will be if Homer bowls his perfect game. Will he get the perfect game or will he get a pathetic 290 something?
Or fade into obscurity, bowl a pathetic 290 something.
I've used that line as well in real life dozens of times, just because like how great of a feat that would still be regardless. So good.
Which try not to like jump around too much, but right at the end of the episode when Maggie, like, because you spoke about it in the synopsis, bowls her perfect game as a throwaway joke, I think Homer still bowls like a 290 or something in that, which is actually like, pretty fucking crazy for like bowling standards from what I understand.
Oh yeah. very hard.
Yeah, like that's like very like high professional level to be able to do consistently.
Yeah.
Yes, the world of professional bowling.
No, sir, that's for your bowing.
Oh, yes, that's important. Can't go without that. My next note is, did Homer hit Grimey's son with the bowling ball? So he wins the 300 game and he spikes the ball through the floor of the bowler armor, and somebody goes, ow.
Yeah.
And I looked at you and I went, Grimey, and then I sort of realized this is season 11. Grimey died in season 8. But there's a episode that we will cover at some point in time, but I don't know where it is. It's maybe like season 14, 13, something like that.
Yeah.
Where Grimey's son tries to come back and kill Homer, and they enlist the help of Sideshow Bob to try and figure out who it is.
Yep.
So I'm wondering if this is his son that's inherited his apartment, which is
below a bowling alley.
Above a bowling alley and below another bowling alley.
It's the only explanation, unless there's like a pin monkey down there.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Obviously, it's probably not something that they were thinking about, but I reckon if you question, it's one of those things that we've spoken about before. If you question a writer, they'd be like, yeah, that's what I was doing.
Yeah.
Because that sounds way smarter than me just making some dumbass joke.
Which is like another scene that actually comes up in a Simpsons episode. Like there's like scientists or something talking to one another, and the main guy is like, oh, who came up with this idea? And then the guy next to him says, oh, did you like it? And would only admit to doing it if it was the right thing or the funny thing.
The episode where Flanders goes insane and there's the two dudes sitting there like in the room, and Homer goes off script and he's like, no, I can't find any of this in like the notes. Right. Did you write that? And he's like, did you like it?
Oh, it's too good. There was a mad line from Homer when he was like taking questions at the local Heroes Day thing in Bart's classroom. And he was like pointing out kids in the classroom, but not calling them by name, but just like, Bart's weird friend. Yep. And then Milhouse says, can you be my dad? You've got a father. He's just a dud.
Yes, the girl Bart likes.
Yeah. Quite good.
And he just starts pointing out physical features. Pumpkin head.
Yeah. Smelly.
Spiky hair. So then Homer goes on Celebrity Squares, because my next note is Ron still hates Homer, obviously.
Yeah.
Climbs up the fucking...
Steps on his face.
Hi, Ron. There's a stairway, dumbass.
Do I read from the sheet that's labeled jokes or answers?
Let me be the center square, Kent. I can take it.
I think like Ron Howard's been a real good sport in the Simpsons as a whole. Like he'll take the piss out of himself every time he's featured in the show.
And it's not even like a full season since that last episode.
No. That was, can't remember the name of it, but Homer falls through the skylight of Alec Baldwin and Kim Basinger's house.
It's season 10, right?
Yeah. I think I read that Ron Howard did like 3 guest appearances in The Simpsons, so I think he might have done one earlier than season 10, because I'm pretty sure this was the last time he appeared in the show.
Okay.
He's a pretty good sport about ripping on himself, though, like just generally.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if either of you have watched Arrested Development ever.
No.
It's like a sitcom that he wrote in like the early 2000s. It's like a bit mud and like that it was like very critically acclaimed, but like...
Was that Larry David in that?
No, it's Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Yeah.
Jason Bateman.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jason Bateman, Will Arnett, like all these people sort of like got their big springboard from this show.
Yeah.
But Ron Howard directed it.
Oh, okay.
And he features in it pretty prominently, and he takes the piss out of himself constantly.
I had no idea that he wrote that.
Yeah.
There you go.
Great show. It's very, very funny.
Let's go, Ronnie.
Then there's like a couple of different scenes of him like trying to skip through and keep his fame, essentially. He turns up at a Penn and Teller show.
Yeah.
And fucking ruins it. Which one's the guy with the ponytail? Penn?
Yeah. The one that talks.
Yeah. From any video I've seen, he seems like a fucking psychopath in real life, so this seems very accurate.
Yeah.
And then...
I'm not the first teller.
Yeah, he'll do it. I'm not the first teller.
Yeah.
Homer runs off stage. Come here. I just want to talk to you.
There was another really good... I can't remember where it happens, but it's probably not long after the Springfield Squares thing comes up. There's like another news report on how much of a dud Homer is now, or like a flavor of the month. And she says, it's time to put this pony out to stud.
I've got the first line from that because it's just sort of after he's like sort of not started realizing it, but like those couple of things have failed on him. He's back at home and they're watching some like daytime show.
Yeah.
And the first line that the other guy says is, Burt Reynolds apologized to the Pope and promised to replace his windshield. And the lady's like, class act, Burt Reynolds.
After she says that line about putting the pony out to stud, Homer's like, woohoo! First up, Maud Flanders.
Yeah.
Matt loves rooting. Maud, eh?
Beep. Eric. It's the wrong button. I thought it was going to be,
And yeah, this gets to my note about when Homer and Otto go down the sewer, essentially goes through the Morlocks, the Chuds, and the Mole people. And I've always thought the funniest way to describe taking a shit is calling it a chud. Just chucking a chud. What other good euphemisms are there for taking a dump?
I don't know.
The classic of
Beep.
Matt loves rooting. Keegs loves cameras. Everyone's scared when Ned slanders.
Not me.
Everyone beware of Ned's slanders.
2 in an episode. There we go. Beep. So does he then run into Ron Howard again straight away after that? He's back up on the street and he's got his kids in the car and...
Yeah, this is when Homer realizes that he should put his focus on Maggie.
Dedicate his life to his children.
Yeah.
He says something about, I can't remember what he says. He's like, maybe I should dedicate my life to my kids.
You've got kids?
Really? You've got children? Daddy, we're going to miss the Fantastipotamus. She only sings 3 times a day.
Why are you talking to this homeless person?
Taking your kids to the zoo? Well, not the zoo you're thinking of.
Yeah.
It's a private zoo with animals you've never heard of.
That's it. My only other note is that Maggie saves Homer from drowning.
Well, yeah, there's a couple of like little like montage scenes where, not montage scenes. He goes in and goes through the children, obviously, and says to Bart, like, oh, you want to hang out or do something? And Bart essentially just says, like, oh, throughout the years of you neglecting me, I've found father figures in other places like TV.
And Nelson here.
Something, and Nelson here. If you tie a string around your finger real tight, you can make it turn purple. Then he walks into Lisa's room and he's like, oh, you need any help with your homework, honey? And Lisa says something. You can help me find 3 words where H is the vowel or something
Y
like
is the vowel.
Y is the vowel.
Just backs out
Backs
slowly.
out of the room. Then he goes and wakes Maggie up. And we get that first instance of him like talking to her and her sort of only understanding it as gibberish.
Yeah.
And she sees him in this like big blurry sort of thing, which is, throwback to what Santa's Little Helper sees everything as.
Yep.
They go to the swimming lesson. And then they're in the car and she's pointing at the butterfly.
Yeah. You want to go swimming in the ocean?
She's just like, no, the butterfly.
Yeah.
The ocean.
Great idea.
So she's standing on the shore and he's just like, see, Maggie? The ocean's just like a bathtub. But instead of rubber duckies and something else, it's filled with barracudas and Moray eels.
And then she's pointing behind him and he turns around and gets whacked by this massive
giant
wave. Dragged out to sea.
Yeah. Starts telling her there's nothing to worry about. This rip is nothing that daddy can't struggle against. And then starts fucking panicking.
Yeah. Immediately like starts sinking as well. And then he says,
if I sink to the bottom, I'll be able to run to shore.
And then he gets maybe 3 steps and there's like a log on the bottom and he just sits on that. To
He's like puffed out from running, sits down, then realizes he needs oxygen.
Yeah.
Comes back up. Maggie, call Aquaman.
Yeah. There was one other good scene that made me laugh was when Maggie eventually pulls him back to shore and then Dr. Hibbert's there, like basically seeing that he's okay and basically goes, you've swallowed a alarming amount of shark eggs. No, that was before I went in the ocean.
Before I went in the ocean. It's basically the end of the episode there, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't remember if there's any other scenes.
No, I think as well it made me think of this might be another through line in terms of how they've thought about this episode, basing it on a character that's not usually utilized this much as they did with the season 2 one.
Yeah, you're right, because Maggie does like feature in a few episodes, but at the same point in time, it's kind of hard to make her a focal point of a lot of things because she doesn't.
She won't be saying anything or doing anything. Yeah, that's it. And
it's like odd now that like I don't know if you like look on Disney Plus, but they focus a lot of like the new specials around.
They
Maggie.
do, yeah, you're right.
Okay. Maybe this was the first instance of Maggie being the point of view for most of an episode.
Yeah, because I can't really think of any others.
She's used more like a plot device in the earlier episodes, or like has like the B plot.
Yeah.
There's like the daycare one's like a really, memorable one.
Yeah, that's a really good one.
There's that, but then there's even the episode where they bring her up, like they tell the story of Maggie's birth, and she literally doesn't appear until the very, very end of the episode. She's like the last scene.
Yeah.
Or like the last 30 seconds or minute.
Yeah.
If that.
Yeah, that's when they're like looking through photo albums and ask why there's no pictures of Maggie.
That's right. Yeah, then we get that.
Do it for her.
Yeah.
Clark.
My dad is such a jerk. I want a baby brother, and he said no.
Maybe you could trick your parents into making a baby, the way my mom nearly tricked Charles Barkley.
Trick him. I like it. But how? A romantic dinner? That's a great idea.
Oh my God, I killed Kenny.
Ralph.
No, I killed Kenny yesterday. What did I do now?
Nice.
All right. Choking on my
Bob.
Beep.
Season 21 episode Who Gives a Fuck?
Are you ready to laugh? That poor stream dog. We had to forego it this week.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
Not enough cord holes.
What do you call it?
It's titled Oh Brother, Where Bart Thou? Which is reminiscent of last week's season 2 episode. Oh
Yes.
Brother, Where Art Thou?
So 100% they are looking back in time.
Synopsis reads, jealous.
This is what a reference looks like, honey.
Jealous of Lisa. Shooting audio.
It stinks.
Jealous of Lisa and Maggie's sisterly bond, Bart decides he wants a baby brother to call his own. He fails to convince Homer and Marge to have another child, so he tries to adopt a boy at an orphanage. Although he is denied, a boy named Charlie follows him home. Bart and Charlie have fun together, but when Charlie gets scared watching a horror movie, Bart learns he must be responsible with him. Lisa says Charlie needs to return to the orphanage, so Bart takes him back. Charlie is later adopted by a family with 6 daughters.
Well, that synopsis is wrong instantly.
That's
when
the
it says
joke.
when it says something about in the middle where he's like, oh, Bart realizes he gets scared watching a movie. It turns out to be a ploy by Charlie the entire time to get a hold of Wiggum's pepper spray so he can spray him in the face.
Yeah. And Marge warned Bart about this earlier in the episode.
Yes.
That, like, it's a big responsibility. Don't you remember the hamster that you had? And he's like, the hamster.
Yeah, completely forgot about that. So yeah, this episode fucking sucked. Wasn't anything that made me laugh that I can think of, or even like chuckle to the slightest degree.
I think we might have like blew some air out of our nose once or twice.
Yeah, the old.
That's how good it was.
Just a
folks.
hearty fucking.
Yeah, we've saved you 22 minutes of your life you'll never get back by listening to 10 minutes of this audio. That
Oh
you'll
yeah, just
also
don't
never
even
get back.
bother. Like
I do love the synopsis is like completely wrong. Firstly,
Yeah, they don't even give it like
They haven't
people.
given enough of a fuck to write it or watch it correctly.
Well, it seems like even whoever's like curating the wiki or whatever, it's just like, oh, fuck it, whatever. They didn't try. I'm not going to either.
Yeah, they can't even remember the episode and they don't care enough to rewatch it that they're just like, I think this is what happened. Fucking whatever.
Yeah, this is the gist. My first note is how gelatin is made. So this was referencing Homer and Lisa, I think, watching TV, and it was like they were talking about the most popular lolly ever, and it was like a Jube or something, and then they showed the process of like,
that's right,
we only use the hooves of the sickest horses, and
Yeah.
it's like a glue factory essentially.
Yeah, it cuts to a factory where they're just essentially going to chuck horses into a bunch of fucking blenders and shit like that.
And then they change the channel.
Well, Lisa screams for him to turn it off. And what does it change to?
It's like some sort of Emmy award show.
Oh, it's the Emmys. It's literally the Emmys. And
all the people that are entered into a category win it.
they give it's some ridiculously long, convoluted title for a like best outstanding lighting director, assistant, fucking some shit like that. And says, yeah, everyone that was nominated all won in a three-way tie. And then they're both screaming like, change it back to the horses dying.
Yeah.
Probably the funniest point of the episode. And then it's all just fucking downhill from there. Which you couldn't even say downhill because it kind of just like hits rock bottom and then just drags itself along its fucking face.
Yeah. Yeah. No credibility left in the show after this episode.
I had a long week, all right?
Yeah, that's funny.
My next note.
You're listening to this and you work for Hanson's Concrete. Go fuck yourself.
You work for beep. Beep, beep.
Oh, they're never going to hear this. And if they do, I don't care.
Probably still smart just to...
Oh, no, we're going to another supplier next week. They're fucked.
Nice.
Just reference them as being like the next Charles Manson. Charles Hanson. Anyone got any Kool-Aid?
That's concrete, baby.
So the episode entails Bart listening to the radio because Skinner and Chalmers are broadcasting what places are shut down due to it snowing heavily.
See, this is what annoys me, right? Because they think that what they were doing there was like smart
Witty.
and cool and referential because it's like, oh, we were like making fun of Bart Simpson this entire time. It's like, that's not funny.
Yeah.
To make it obvious that they're like aware that they're trying to prank him. I don't understand.
It's sort of like, I don't know, maybe fourth wallish in a way of the characters have watched that episode of The Simpsons before and saw that Bart was hanging on every word.
But The Simpsons doesn't need to be fourth wallish.
No, not at all.
It never worked in that context. It never has, and I don't think it ever really will.
No.
Because it's like, if you look at stuff like Family Guy and all those kind of things, not like Futurama, because it's obviously made by the same people, but if you look at stuff that's not on the opposite end of the spectrum, but is a little bit more like risque, you would say, like, they make like fourth wall jokes from pretty much the start.
Yeah.
Because it's just in their nature. So it's weird to have something that was just so like wholly within its own universe then trying to like reach out of it. It just makes it feel stilted.
Because they didn't need to do that at all with the show because there was other shows that did it successfully.
And they do it all the time is the point. Yeah. It's like this might have like this has happened a couple of times in their season 20 episodes, but not prevalently enough that it's like you need to go full swing into that.
Yeah.
If you're going to do that kind of thing. You need to like make just heaps of weird, like meta fucking jokes that are like sort of cascading back in on themselves for it to actually have any effect. If you just sprinkle it in every 7 or 8 episodes, it's just not a really good way to do it, in my opinion.
Yeah, and that's not what the show came to popularity over. Like, it never had to reference anything real life at all because it had such a good idea in the first place.
It references stuff a lot in the older seasons.
Yeah.
But never so directly.
Correct.
You know, it's not like the same way that like Family Guy does it.
Yeah, like even to like further this point is that slogan that was on the shirt the other week about like the essentially I think it was like the Agent Orange equivalent of something.
Oh yeah. I went to the Persian Gulf and all I got was this lousy syndrome.
Yeah, exactly. So all they had
the Desert Storm thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
All they had to do was show that shirt quickly to break any sort of like dimensional barrier that there was. Whereas Family Guy would have told the joke and why that was funny. Whereas The Simpsons just left it to the person tuning in to research it themselves further.
So I think it's really a double-pronged thing that's annoying me. It's the fact that, like, there's this weird, like, as you said, they always made references, but they made references to other things. Now in their season 20 and season 21 episodes, they make references to themselves, which don't really tend to land.
Yeah.
All of their references just sort of go back and become this weird, still fourth wall joke. And then at the same point in time, you've also got that problem of over-explanation.
Yeah.
Of what they're doing. They're trying to like...
Yeah, anything niche that they used to do is now completely irrelevant because they explain it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they don't like it sits in this weird middle ground of like there's a comedic effect of making something go on too long and it like being funny at the start, it not being funny because it's gone on too long. Then it becomes funny again because it's gone on way too long. Yeah. And they always put shit in this really weird middle realm.
Yeah.
But then again, they tried to do the latter in later on in this episode and it just fell completely flat because I don't understand that fucking reference in any way, shape or form, but we'll get to that.
No, like it's not like, again, referencing Family Guy, like the
yeah,
like that reaches the point of like it goes on for so long that it's funny to start with, becomes really irritating, becomes really funny again.
Yes.
Yeah. But at least the show is willing to commit to doing stuff like that, even if it doesn't land.
100%.
Yeah.
And like the chicken fights and shit like that, they take up half of an episode sometimes. And like, you know it's coming, so you are aware that it's going to take a while.
I always felt like they came out of nowhere, which was which I think was like the funniest part of it, because it was like, a normal episode and then just like 10 minutes of the episode is taken up by the chicken fight.
I think a better instance would be in like the middle, maybe like I think it's from like season 6 to like season 15 or whenever the fuck it is, when they just do those random cutaways to that fucking old country singer Conway Twitty, whatever it is, and they'll literally play like an entire song of his performance. It's like 3 or 4 minutes, and it's like 30 seconds of like, oh, hey, this is funny, and then like 2.5 minutes, you're like, this is so fucking weird what's going on. But by the end of that 2.5 minutes, it's funny again because it's like they've dedicated a quarter of their episode to just this.
Buying time.
Yeah. And it's obviously lazy as fuck, but they would have had to like pay for the rights and all that kind of thing. And it's still funny because they just make it go on for that period of time and then don't talk about it after that.
Yeah.
It's just because like there's layers to it. It's so stupid. And the fact that it goes, and it's so lazy, which like, I think that's a good point that you just like it's so stupid. Like there's a level to like what they were trying to do with Chalmers and Skinner.
What do you call him?
Still makes them try, like it still makes them like they're trying to seem like they're somewhat smart about their jokes. Like they're not just taking like the lowest road possible, which they obviously can't do with like the context of the way that their show is. They're not as rude as these other shows, but they could have made it dumber and it would have been funnier.
Yeah.
There's still this like level of, we're trying to make the same level of jokes as everybody, but we have this intellectual superiority because we're clean about it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's... put it into like terms like Will Smith rapping and Eminem rapping.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So that note that brought this whole spiel. So last snow day we saw, Bart got stuck inside when Bart needed a miracle to pass the 4th grade. Now that I think about it, wasn't that episode called Bart Gets an F? This week's season 2 episode basically has the same name. So this episode references a season 2 episode, and then this week's season 2 episode has pretty much the same name with Bart's dog gets an F.
What? Say that again. No, he doesn't need to study.
No, but he gets... Remember, he tries to go outside. He tries to go outside and the wind blows him back in.
It blows him in like twice, and then the third time it blows him onto the lounge and it blows a book into his hands.
Yeah, maths book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then...
I'll just do a few equations.
Is that when it cuts to Lisa and Homer sitting near the window and Homer's got the fucking mug that says Ned on it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is, one of my favorite. Like, it's one of those things that it's like, I don't... Like, it's good that they put it in, but I don't attribute it to this episode because it's a joke they've already made before. And it's not to say, oh, it's lazy. It's like, it's nice to see it pop up kind of thing, but I don't accredit it to this. If you get what I mean. It's like, it's a running joke that has been established for a long period of time, and it makes me happy to see it, but it's like a separate entity.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you're expecting at least something visual gag wise to come up, and this was a good one.
Because they all are like still good. All the sign gags and everything still like all wordplay and everything like that is still quite good, but they always have been good. And it's like there's even like separate Facebook pages and stuff on it that are literally just like, here are all the best like sign gags and stuff from The Simpsons that are just all these little like 1 second background flashes of just something being fucked around with to make it funny.
Yeah, that's it. My next note was just, why was Bart wearing a beanie that resembled Stan's? And then immediately had my question answered.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, they had that random South Park montage where Bart was Stan, someone else was Kyle.
Bart was Stan, Milhouse was Kyle, Nelson is Cartman, and Ralph was Kenny.
Yeah. And then
Otto pulls up and hits
Ralph,
and he's like, oh my God, I killed Kenny. And someone's like, oh, that's Ralph. And he's like, no, I killed Kenny last week. What did I do now?
Yeah. And it just made no sense to put that reference to South Park in there at all.
No.
Like, it didn't give anything to the episode. Like, it was cool to see the Simpsons dressed as South Park people, but why?
It's once again, I see what they're trying to do, but in my opinion, it would have been funnier if they just didn't make that joke whatsoever and just dressed the characters like that for the whole episode.
And just didn't
even mention South Park.
Just don't acknowledge it, and then it's funnier.
Yes.
Yeah.
As opposed to what I imagine in these later seasons the writers' room looks like, and it's like their brains dribbling out of their fucking ears.
Just everything's just, very on the nose, which, like I said, is funnier for other shows, but only because they established that as their dynamic from the start. So we're going to make dumb, lowbrow humor.
Where Simpsons is more upper class.
Yes.
Yeah. Per se.
It's just a bit more clever, with its writing.
That's
like,
it.
Layers its jokes, writes its characters in a different way.
Yeah.
Like, does it in a way that's just like, I don't know, lets it hold up a lot better. Like the older seasons, very clearly still hold up very, very well.
Yeah.
These later seasons are fucking dog shit.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it is basically down to the explanation of things, whereas they just left it up to the person watching to understand it or not, and they didn't care whether you did or not.
Yeah, I think a great example of it is South Park, where the writers have been the same the entire show's run.
That's why it's been consistently good.
And the quality of the show has never really dipped.
That's true. Wonder and
because it sets itself at that, that level of stupid.
Yeah.
Immediately, and doesn't try and change or defer from that at all.
Make anything more complicated than what it needs to be, while still in some episodes establishing some form of not wholesome message, but at least a message.
Yeah,
kind of thing. There is still a lot of South Park episodes that get a point across, or there is a lot, because a lot of it is literally just them. Well, we've all watched it, and if you haven't and you're listening, go and watch 7 Days to Air. The South Park documentary episode where they show how they make their episodes, and it's literally a week in advance kind of thing. That's how they're always able to be so immediately culturally relevant.
Very, very topical.
Yeah.
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 I think it was the 2008 election or 2006 election, the one with Obama and whatever. They made 2 versions of that episode depending on who won the election.
That's cool.
No, it was the Trump one. They made an entire episode about Hillary Clinton kind of thing, because they didn't think in any world that Trump was going to win, and then Trump won, and they had to make an episode in 48 hours.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's the only difference writing style wise is they have nothing that they can't touch on. And there's absolutely no filter that they have to make for themselves. Whereas The Simpsons being the time slot and more of a family orientated show, obviously
it limits them.
Exactly.
And them trying to break out of their limits
doesn't work. And there is ways for them to do it, but the way that they're trying to achieve it just isn't happening. Yep.
Just literally do what the Simpsons originally did, where it's be creative with the writing, be creative with the visuals. In these later episodes, I don't see anything interesting, visually, stylistically, or in the writing. The writing is all flat.
Yeah.
The animation is all flat. like even perfect example is like the episode with Johnny Cash.
Yeah.
It's like half the episode is Homer tripping.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, they do something really weird and like a bit out there, and it still works.
And it's like, as we've obviously made a point of showing everyone, is the through lines every week. So they clearly go back and look at what they've done in the past to see what was successful or what worked and try and include that in later episodes. What do they do outside of that, apart from just referencing things slightly but not going with the same writing style as what they did for the more successful seasons?
Yeah, like to further that point, it's like the point that you made at the start of the episode. This episode is called Oh Brother, Where Bart Thou? Last week we covered the episode where Homer finds his brother. Yeah. There is no way that they didn't go back and watch that episode and go, oh, how can we slightly change this dynamic and attribute it to Bart? Because we're obviously going to like rip off the title. That didn't just happen by coincidence.
Exactly.
They went back and they watched it. So why in that period of like, I don't know, it's weird.
Like they could have made it exactly the same plot as the season 2 episode. Like Bart finds a millionaire brother.
Yeah, something like that.
Bart
there is an
bankrupts
episode
him.
like that. Not a millionaire brother, but he finds that kid that looks exactly like him.
Doppelganger one.
Yeah.
Season 20. Season 20, which was okay. That episode wasn't bad.
Fuck, they rehashed that storyline quick, didn't they?
Yeah.
Have no fear, we got stories for years. Ned becomes a robot. Yeah, well, my next note is just sort of an overall point for the episode, which is it's another episode about Maggie in some way sharing a relationship with some member of the family, but it's also a weird like flip because at the start of it, we're getting like Lisa explaining to Bart that he'll never have the relationship that her and Maggie have because they're sisters. Then later on in the episode, once he's like found this orphan kid, which I must have like, I don't know, micro slept or something during that because I don't even remember him like finding the orphan kid. I just remember the orphan kid being there. And then he says I can't remember exactly what he says to talk about Maggie, but he says something about Maggie because she's like in her room and she's like looking at Bart, like smiling, like, you know, like obviously like wanting to like spend time with him. And he's just like, eh. Yeah. So it was another instance of just a weird like dynamic shift because she didn't really care that much about him at the start of the episode. But then in this one scene, just for the effect, they're just like, oh no, now she like really like wants to be friends with her brother. It's like,
yeah, Bart and Maggie have never really been involved as far as siblings go.
No.
Like they have no...
I honestly cannot...
between each other.
I can't think of a time where Bart has said something to Maggie.
Definitely has.
There has to have been a time, but I can't remember it like prevalently.
Where Bart gives Maggie Bobo. Again, it's like a real quick one.
Literally, here Maggie.
Yeah.
Doesn't look at her, throws a bear backwards in her direction. That encapsulates it perfectly.
Yeah. That would be the height of their relationship, essentially, is exchanging a word or two.
What's the relationship between a 10-year-old and a baby?
Yeah.
Yeah, essentially. It does make sense.
Yeah.
That's it. There was another weird like part of this episode was, again, Marge and Homer in bed looking at Kama Sutra and like different positions and stuff like that.
Well, because then we go through that.
Matt loves rooting.
I see what you were doing there. Like the synopsis said, Bart wants a little brother desperately, so he tries to like. Did I say Matt?
Yes. Bart wants a little brother desperately.
Yeah, Bart wants a little brother desperately, so he tries to he cooks them like a 5-course meal or something, and they end up like too full to end up fucking. Then he like steals. I can't remember where he gets it from, but he like plants the Kama Sutra DVD in their room, so they'll like try and do something, and they end up getting themselves injured.
Yeah,
somehow
you hear like a snap.
Yeah.
And Bart also exchanges Marge's birth control for Tic Tacs.
That's right.
Throws the Tic Tacs out the window and Nelson picks them up.
Yeah. Which is probably one of the only good parts of the episode. Yeah, where we get like a couple of scenes after that of Nelson turning up, obviously like just, you know, for lack of a better expression, eating birth controls like Tic Tacs.
Exactly.
And he's just becoming more and more feminine.
Yeah. That's it.
Beep. How is that offensive?
Frankly, we don't want to know. Smoker we could do without.
I've got nothing else for the episode but Kim Cattrall ?
Kim Cattrall?
Yeah.
The fuck is that?
Like Sex in the City, Samantha.
Oh, right.
Yeah, because there's that like flash forward or like hypothetical flash forward that Bart has of that's right, when he admits to the fact that he changed Marge's birth control pills and then sort of says that he really wants a little brother, and Marge says, yeah, but like it could also be a sister as well, like have you considered that fact? And he has that like thought bubble of there being 3 sisters, and once again it's like Maggie, Lisa, and this hypothetical third sister, and Lisa and the hypothetical third sister are the only ones that talk. Maggie doesn't have a voice.
She laughs or something.
Yeah, something like that. But the hypothetical third sister is voiced by Kim Cattrall from Sex and the City.
Because it had the theme song behind it too, didn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Or it'd be a Simpsonized version of it, because they just parody everything. They never really reference stuff directly.
And just like another running through line of these season 20 episodes referencing much better shows.
Yes. Yes, that too.
Cattrall, eh? Touching on the topic of Bart wanting a brother, all of a sudden, he's had a brother all these years.
Hugo.
Exactly. Has he forgotten about his better twin brother?
I made a pigeon rat.
Do we ever see Hugo again?
No, I don't think so.
No, it's definitely just like a Halloween episode thing.
So they could have still like used that as a running gag for this episode, and maybe he adopts someone that looks exactly like him, being Hugo. And that's where Hugo gets a resurgence.
Like, look, if they're going to go like down this whole meta narrative of like the show's just going to reference itself for years, it's like you may as well just do that. Who gives a fuck at this point?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, why write in a new character? Like, why do any of it? Like,
and
just be as stupid and lazy as possible. Who gives a fuck?
Yeah, we appreciate that much more.
Yeah.
And the person who voiced Charlie, which was the adopted little brother.
Yeah, who was that?
It was a 9-year-old kid.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I thought it like sounded fucking young, but I've heard that kid's voice before.
He was the youngest ever guest appearance on this show. No one has been younger than him since then either. I can't remember what he was famous for, but it was nothing great.
Was the rest of the writers' room 9 years old as well? It explained the quality of the show.
They just put it into ChatGPT and just pressed copy paste. This is our show this week. And there was also, like, throughout the whole duration of this episode, Bart talks way too much. And, like, Bart, as most characters are best used in small, zany one-liners and
snappy responses.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be
quick exchanges. It's like they don't need full-blown dialogue sections. It was like the episode, was it last week or the week before, with like Cletus?
Yeah, last week. That sucked.
Yeah.
I didn't think it could get worse than that. This one was worse than that.
Because I think it fits into the point that I made at the start of the episode. It's just the Skinner and Chalmers thing on a way bigger scale. It's them trying to make something smarter than it needs to be, i.e. Bart. Bart has never been shown to be capable of any of the level of thought that he is showing in this episode.
Yeah.
Or like getting to those like levels of maturity kind of thing.
Yeah.
He has been shown to have like a moral compass before and like a good heart, but yeah, these kind of it's a weird and reckless decision even for him. He kidnaps a fucking kid.
Oh yeah,
that's frowned upon. That's the whole fucking concept of the episode. He literally steals a child, Drake.
Yikes.
Well, they must really be looking back.
Like I said, I don't have to press the button for that one because Kendrick already did it for me.
He's grooming me.
Yeah, there's really not much else episode-wise anyone would care to hear about.
Well, once again, I must have just blacked out because of how fucking bored I was, but I don't actually remember how they go from what we spoke about earlier. If he takes him to the scary movie, Charlie acts like he's really scared. Or maybe he is actually, because he's scared before the police officer shows up. But then he sort of snaps out of it, steals Wiggum's pepper spray, sprays him in the face, and they run off.
Yeah.
They encounter Nelson again. I can't remember what he says, or something about like, yeah, just leave like everybody else does, which is a very thing to say. on his part. I'd say it.
We've been cancelled. Ned's in prison. Keegan and Matt.
No Kids 2 money.
But what happens for him to then go back to the orphanage? Do Homer and Marge discover that he's an orphan and just sort of go, you got to take him back?
Nah, it's Lisa that
Right.
comes up with it.
Okay.
So like Bart and Charlie burrow into like this big thing
that's
of
right.
snow
Yep.
and then get stuck in there, and Lisa is giving Bart the option of, well, you're taking Charlie away from potential real parents and shit like that.
Yeah,
And
then there's that dumbass line where she says something about him taking too long to make an obvious decision, which is once again them trying to make like a fourth wall joke, which doesn't really fucking land. And then they piss their way out of the snow pile.
Exactly what I've written. Pissed their way out of the snow. Yeah. No one ate yellow snow though.
No.
Unfortunately. And there was a really shitty scene where Bart is in a dream state and he thinks of different things that are brothers. So you see all the Manning brothers together.
Yeah, this is the thing that we fucking skipped over.
Sucks so bad.
Yeah, it was
And
like
then-
Cecil and Sideshow Bob. Fuck, that one was bad.
Use that as the beat.
Oh, fuck. Yeah, Cecil and Sideshow Bob. And like a couple of other brothers, like you said, the Manning brothers. And then who the fuck was that annoying ass comedy duo that was singing a song about boiled cabbage?
The Smothers Brothers.
Oh, yeah, cool.
Who sing over the end credits, and in that dream state on the show was a dream come true to showrunner Al Jean. I wrote, shittest song we've heard ever.
Shittest dream for anyone to have.
Something about boiled cabbage, ?
Sick. Those are your heroes, cunt. You got posters of them on your wall.
Like, Al Jean's been a showrunner for fucking ages. Why is he chosen now when they're really struggling to bring in a shitty dream that he's had that no one else would want to come
Who the
true?
fuck are the Smother Brothers? I have no idea. How have they not been cancelled on that name alone?
Probably haven't.
Well, fucking, they should be in prison on sheer lack of fucking talent.
Yeah, that would help.
God, it was fucking painful. And it would just, like I said, it fits into that realm of just like, it sits, like it's like a 2.5 minute fucking scene. And maybe if it went on a little bit longer, it would have become funny again, because it's like, all right, they're just sticking with this, but it's like, they just do this shitty fucking comedy that it's obviously not written for the show. This is obviously a pre-done thing and it's a reference to something, but it's a reference only 80-year-old people will fucking get.
Exactly.
So Keegan's about to tell us how old these cunts are.
I think they were a duet, a comedy singing duet in the 70s.
It's straight up, like, they've been active since the 50s.
Get fucked, man. That's ridiculous.
See, like, they've used people from that era and earlier before, but successfully. Like, the cunt that pulled the boat.
Jack LaLanne.
Jack LaLanne. Like, he was...
But that was fucking, like, 12 years before this.
It's clearly the people that are writing the jokes or the script really fucking suck nowadays. And to further, like, rub salt in the wound to what we thought of this episode compared to some critics, Robert Canning gave the episode a 7.6 out of 10, saying the episode did well by sticking to one main story instead of adding a weaker B storyline to fill the half hour, which we cover sometimes with the season 20 and onwards subplot being fucking awful.
Yep.
Emily Vanderwerf of the AV Club gave the episode a B+, calling it another fine outing. Matt Selman was nominated for a Writers Guild of America award for outstanding writing in animation at the 63rd Writers Guild of America for his script to this episode. My quote for that is, "Are we so out of touch? No, it's the writer's fault."
It's the writers who were wrong. What the fuck?
Did they watch the same episode we did?
No, they didn't. They like literally like their bodies went into some form of shock when they started and like replayed a season 7 episode in their mind, and they're like, "That was mad."
Yeah,
I think all these people just love patting themselves on the back.
Fucking trauma response.
Like, making absolute fucking drivel.
a lot of cockstrokers.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like you look at like fuck heaps of media that even gets released now. It's shit, and
Yeah.
people love to like pat themselves on the back for it.
They love the sweet taste.
Sweet, 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 sweet.
They're always watching shit media in Shelbyville. Yeah, I've got nothing else for this episode.
There's a podcast behind that rock. Look, someone's attractive cousin.
It stinks.
Yeah. But that went on for longer than I thought it would. It was filled with anger, but it went on for longer than I thought it would.
We were just ripping on the show for
pretty much
for fucking half an hour.
But if they didn't release that episode, we wouldn't have had to do that. So
we know they're capable of writing better episodes than that because up until this point, we've watched them and enjoyed them somewhat for some of season 20 and a little bit of season 21.
not hated my life and wanted to steal it back from Matt Groening with my bare hands. All right, you can find this episode on, and all episodes for that matter, on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube, and we'll speak to you guys next week.
Like, comment, and subscribble.
Turn it off, Homer!
It can't be turned off!
Beep.
Matt loves rooting. Keegs loves cameras. Everyone's scared when Ned slanders.
Not me.
Everyone beware of Ned's slanders.
You're not mad at me, are you? So we asked ourselves, who's behind the badge? Police? Cops? Police cops.
Yeah. Well, see, the thing about that is...
Bye.